Okay, so we've talked about artificial selection, adaptations, and pressures. Now I want to talk a little bit about natural selection. And before we get too far into it, I want to talk about a short history of natural selection. And I want to do that because it's actually super, important to understand what people used to think about natural selection and why these questions arose. And basically, I'm trying to get you to think about like what led to people wondering, how did animals change? What were adaptations, and what was the thought process behind this? Because it wasn't a straight line. In fact, it was kind of a mess. So this is a short history of natural selection. Your essential question: what is the idea of acquired characteristics? The color of the day is yellow. Please write only what is in yellow. And yes, no, I'm not really at Disneyland. I wish I was. No offense, guys. Okay. If my computer will work. Okay, we got to think about England and Western Europe. Late 1700s, early 1800s, there was this giant boom kind of in the economy. Britain started to expand. They were empire building. And they actually started, basically it was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and coal was required, and large amounts of coal were required to run the Industrial Revolution. So that led to a couple of things happening. Okay, like I said, started the Industrial Revolution, a time of building. The first factories were using breakthroughs in science and technology. Yes, this was child labor. No, there were no regulations. It was the Industrial Revolution. So you need a lot of coal. You needed a ton of coal to run these modern factories. People couldn't dig it out of the ground fast enough. Yeah, that was a huge problem. Coal had to be dug up. And this guy comes along called Alfred Noble, who just happens to invent dynamite to help with digging. Okay, so all of a sudden we start dynamiting. Yeah, that's a word, I think. Well, we dynamited hillsides. Say that 3 times fast. And governments are starting to dig up canals across the countryside for transport so we can move all these goods that we're creating. We are literally turning mountainsides inside out with dynamite. Well, that kind of led to a little bit of a problem. The fossil problem. Okay, so up until now, there was a huge belief that everything was created as it was. If that was the fact, where did this guy come from? So people, scientists in the time, which usually happened to be a bunch of white dudes, not always, kind of started getting together and wondering like, okay, where did this guy come from? He's not around anymore. Doesn't look like anything that we see. He might look like something a little bit like got some same bones in some same places, but not really. So why is this guy not around anymore? This is a problem. So all these dead white dudes kind of started to think and come up with these different ideas. Some of them were a little entertaining. So this guy, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, explained fossils changed into modern creatures. So he put forth this idea of acquired characteristics. Yeah, sorry, this is funny. So basically, Lamarck proposed the inheritance of acquired characteristics. So he said that characteristics acquired during one's lifetime would be passed to the offspring. So for example, on the left, you have this right here is a Doberman Pinscher. Doberman Pinschers are actually born with floppy ears. The ears are actually cut and shaped to stand up. This was actually for health reasons before you get too far down the not cool animal abuse thing. Yeah, it's not cool to cut puppies' ears, but in the ages past, it was done to preserve the health of the dog. That's a different story. But Jean-Baptiste Lamarck said that if you cut the Doberman Pinscher's ears and they stood up, the puppies would have those same characteristics. So if you altered your look in any way, your offspring would be born with that. Okay. So examples of Lamarck's ideas: blacksmiths and their sons would have muscular arms, or giraffes, he thought that their long necks came from stretching. So he thought that the baby giraffes were born and then stretched up to eat the trees, and their necks got longer because they were reaching up to eat the trees, and therefore their necks got longer over time, and they passed that long neck off to their offspring. No, I'm not kidding. So again, more examples of Lamarck's ideas. Early theory that acquired characteristic like big muscles could be passed from parents to offspring. So under Lamarck's thinking, this dude here, who's really super buff, his baby would look like this. Okay, once you're done laughing, because yeah, no, the baby isn't really tattooed, it's just photoshopped. But yeah, that was kind of the idea too, that if you acquired tattoos as an adult, you could potentially pass those to your offspring. Okay, if you're done laughing, because yeah, it is kind of funny, we know that this isn't true, okay, at all. So, but the acquired characteristics implied individuals evolve, okay? Evolve means change over time, and that the evolution of an organism depends only on how much an individual can change. Lamarck didn't think that random variation inside a population was important. He said that didn't have anything to do with anything. So just a reminder, random variation inside a population is the idea that all individuals inside of a population will have a variety of traits. For example, humans have differing traits of hair color, skin color, eye color, height, metabolism. Some people are able to eat nothing, like me, and have trouble losing weight. Other people have to consume lots of calories to keep their weight on. These are all variations inside of our population. They're neither good or bad, they just are there. So Lamarck's ideas were disproved by modern genetics and evolutionary ideas. Remember, evolution is change over time. Why is that? So, and remember that Lamarck did not know what DNA was. No one even had an inkling as to what genes were. This is like at least 100, probably 160 years at least before DNA was discovered. So if you get a tattoo, if you have large muscles and you have, that's not really going to change your DNA, is it? We now know, and you now know, because you've been through the genetics unit, that your genes, your DNA, determines your physical characteristics. If you work out and get super buff, that's not going to necessarily alter your DNA. That's not going to be anything you can pass off to your offspring because you as an individual did it. So while Lamarck's ideas are really entertaining and kind of funny from where we stand, back then, this was the actual thinking. Everyone thought Lamarck was a genius and that this is what happened. He's like, oh, Lamarck got it. He's explained it. This is what's happening. We're good to go and we're going to move on. Okay, that was, and we'll talk more about why Lamarck's ideas were debunked in the 1700s and 1800s in the next lecture. But I thought this was kind of cool and you guys might like it because it's good for a laugh. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.